Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's CAD Point webinar, where we'll be talking about digital transformation for building design and construction. My name is Paul Klein. I'm the AEC Business Unit Director at CAD Point, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Jonathan Reinhardt, who's going to be spending the majority of the time with you, going through some of the different trends we've now seen in the transition through to the latest Autodesk AEC collection range of products, and really what you can do with those products within the collection, utilizing Revit and then taking it outside of Revit into various other workflows for visualization, simulation, etc. So we've got you for about an hour or so now. We're going to go through that as the core, and we're also going to touch on the Autodesk BIM 360 cloud platform to look at how we can use that to leverage the building information models we're creating from a design and construction perspective. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on that towards the end of this session today, which we're aiming to finish in an hour. And we will be teeing up with you, and we'll probably let you know at the end. We're going to have a deeper dive into the BIM 360 platform later on this month. So Jonathan, if I could hand over to yourself to take it on from here, that'd be great.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for that. And good morning, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day to come join us today. Appreciate we all have a lot of stuff to do. So I'll try get in as much as possible into this webinar, just so you gain as much knowledge as you possibly can from attending. And I'll take any questions at the end. So I look forward to that. So this is part of a two-part series, CAD Point are running digital transformation for building design and construction, and this is part one that I'm going to present today. So today I'm going to cover architectural workflows, so beyond Revit. So I'll include some Revit workflows, but looking outside of Revit, what else can we integrate with? Primarily focusing on the AEC collection, which Revit comes as part of also. So just a little bit about myself. I'm a technical consultant, so I focus on BIM training and BIM consultancy, mainly around Autodesk products within the architecture, engineering and construction space. And I've about 13, almost 14 years now working in the industry. I have a master's degree in BIM management. I've also used that in practice as well, in an architectural practice in Ireland. And I graduated from University of Wolverhampton in architectural technology over 10 years ago, or just 10 years ago, and I speak at various BIM events as well. So a little bit about the agenda. I'm just going to do a brief introduction into digital transition, and then I'm going to do an overview of our AEC collection products, and this covers some Revit, as I mentioned as well, but also a lot of other products that you can integrate into your workflows to hopefully to be able to drive efficiencies and enhance what you're delivering. You know, if it's building design, what you're showing to a client, how you're able to improve what you present to a client, or even how you're able to improve your own workflows as well, just for efficiencies within your own office. And then just at the end of that, I'll touch on just a bit of BIM 360, just to give you a sense of what BIM 360 is. And our next webinar, I think in 2 weeks' time, focuses on the BIM 360 platform as well. So I just want to give you an idea of how Revit and the AEC collection plugs into the BIM 360 workflow as well. And then, as I mentioned already, a couple of minutes at the end for Q&A. But the Autodesk vision is to help people imagine design and create a better world, and at Autodesk they make tools, I suppose, to help people with design challenges every day. It's not only in construction and architecture; they do focus on other areas of industry as well, and other industries, and this helps them, I suppose, drive better design of their own products as well, and informs them better of their own software as well. And for the AEC industry, they work on strengthening, I suppose, the intersections at processes and collaborations, and where technologies play in that as well. So today I'm just going to take a look at some of those challenges and how that might affect your design decisions. So within the next 30 years, we're seeing that cities are going to double in size, and they're going to increase by over 200,000 people per day, and with an average of 13,000. And in order to meet that demand, there's going to be a need of an average of 13,000 buildings to be built every day to meet our increasing population as well. So looking at connected technologies and how might we be able to address population growth and the impact that that's going to have on society, but also on the construction and design industry as well. So looking at connected information or connected BIM as well, how are we able to design buildings more efficiently, but also how are we able to push that design information into the construction stage and put it into the hands of contractors and subcontractors, and how can we make it more efficient for them as well, not only at design stage for ourselves, but also looking at the construction stage and then also the operation stage as well. So what further information can we give to facility management and the operators and owners of buildings to enable them to be able to operate their buildings more efficiently? So just looking at, I suppose, the McLeamy curve, some of you may be familiar with it. It's thrown up quite a lot, even in Europe and the US as well. And I suppose it looks at, the evolution towards a new design process. So what we see here is the red line is the cost of design changes as our project progresses from early design stage at PD and moves across into our construction and OP stage, our operation stage. Any design changes that are made either in the design office or either on the construction site, the cost of those changes increases, and this is purely down to, if it happens on a drawing and if the guys are already on site, it's going to cost additional money to put additional labor into a design change, or even the loss of materials or rework as well. And then I suppose looking at the traditional design process as well in the middle, and then the preferred design process is the green line there, that we prefer to do all of our design and get it all spot on at a very early stage of design, and that there's less impact at the actual construction and operational stage as well. But I suppose looking at a BIM process, we'd like to do even more of that design at an earlier stage that will help drive down costs of actual design changes as the project progresses, whether that's having coordinated drawings with a BIM model, or whether it's doing clash detection or having access to up-to-date information as well on site, whether you're using BIM 360 or some sort of iPad device or mobile device on site to be able to access the latest design information as well. So looking at all these factors and the ability for them to impact the cost, looking at I suppose a new design process. And we've seen over 70% of people have seen a greater cost predictability by using digital tools such as BIM, and this is from a McGraw-Hill construction report. Improved schedule as well, 85% on projects, and quite a high percentage as well, similar to the previous one, and fewer errors in design issues occurring on site, purely from having coordinated drawings and coordinated information, and not having duplicated files or information across your design project as well. And you're also able to optimize your design using various different tools as well, and I'll cover some of those within the presentation as well. So looking at energy efficiency and lighting analysis as well, to be able to optimize your design for better performance of the building. And then people just have a better understanding of the design as well, and the design intent, which is at a very high rate, because using something like BIM, you've consistently got 3D views of anything that you're going to build or anything that you're designing, whether that's a structural beam, or whether it's a pipe from a mechanical engineer, or whether it's an internal room from an architect. Bringing all of these together using BIM collaboration and certain different BIM tools, either Revit or other tools like Navisworks, bringing all of these disciplines together gives you a better understanding of what the design is going to look like, and any sort of actual constructability impact that that's going to have on the construction site as well. And I suppose looking at the benefits of BIM from a business point of view, whether your design practice or whatever discipline you're coming from, it enables you to win new work. We're seeing, especially in the UK, with the BIM mandate in the last few years, it is driving the demand for BIM. clients are more aware of BIM. They know what it is, and they're asking for it on their projects. And this is enabling practices to win new work as well. So looking at moving your own business or your own practice to more of a digital transition towards BIM can help enable this. It also delivers helps you deliver higher quality designs as well, as I said, by being able to present 3D views and virtual reality models to clients at a one-click process from something like Revit or Revit Live. You're able to present these to clients rather than just 2D drawings, and it's also enhancing the quality of that design as well, but by seeing the design details and design issues before they happen on site as well. And then it enables you to work more efficiently as well, so using something like Dynamo to create automated tasks internally in your office, or to automate part of your design as well. But also coordinated 2D and 3D information using something like Revit. And then even looking further on from that, what about being able to expand your chargeable services to clients? So if a client asks for a virtual reality model, are you in a position to be able to charge them for that, and to be able to offer that as an additional service to clients as well? So looking at that element of it as well. So some fairly significant benefits there. And myself, having experienced these firsthand, having worked in an architect practice as an architectural technologist and as a BIM manager, I've seen these benefits firsthand as well, so I can definitely testify to that. And I suppose looking at when people talk about BIM and they talk about Autodesk, we immediately think of Autodesk Revit. So Autodesk Revit is our primary BIM authoring tool, and this allows you to support all of this integrated multidiscipline design, make design changes easily, and to be able to generate your floor plans, sections, schedules automatically, everything from your 3D model, and then extending this into energy analysis, lighting analysis, visualization, and coordination, and even looking at collaboration at something like BIM 360 design as well. But even moving on from Revit and looking what else can we plug into this as well. So looking at the AEC collection, the AEC collection comes installed with almost 20 different products. And if you look at this, you do get Revit included in the top of the list there, and you also get a host of other tools as well. So if you're looking at Revit, a lot of places will be looking at Revit, and they'll always need AutoCAD as well to work on some other projects. So if you're purchasing the AEC collection, you get the two main products that you'll always use, but you also get a host of all of these other products. And what I found that not a lot of people are aware that they have access to some of these products. So the likes of Revit Live, InfraWorks, Navisworks, Forma Pro, Insight, Recap, 3D Max, and you can see the list goes on. And I'm going to run through some of the primary ones of some of the primary tools that you might use within architectural workflows within the AEC collection as well. So it's worth checking if you have Revit, if it's come part of it as an AEC collection. Some people aren't aware that you'll have access to all of these products, or if there's an upgrade option for you as well, to be able to if there's an upgrade option for you to be able to move that along as well, to get access to those bigger products as well. So looking at the first kind of tool, so you might be looking at an early stage design process and looking at sort of digital sketching tools as well, and where you might start your design process and then move that into Revit. So I'm going to focus on something here called Format Pro, which allows you to sketch conceptual massing and perform energy studies on those as well at a very early stage. And then you don't lose that information. It doesn't become a separate 3D file. You're able to push that information directly into Revit as well, so you're able to reuse it, and it doesn't get forgotten about as a separate 3D file as the project progresses. You're able to completely save all that work that you've already produced and reuse the energy put into that. So you know, a complete saving of time there for a designer or a technician or an architect, being able to look at that as an efficient process as well. So Forma Pro allows you to capture ideas when they strike, and you're able to connect design concepts to BIM without remodeling as well. And it just allows you to sketch in 3D, to be able to collaborate, analyze and revise early stage design concepts. And then you can use it on an iPad as well, and you can use it on an Android tablet as well. So with clients or on site as well. There's also collaboration options as well. I'm just going to show you just a bit of a video here that I've created. So it's basically just a 3D environment you're able to model in. You place lines as well, and you can also geolocate your site as well to be able to get accurate sun analysis as well. So here I've just located a site using Google Maps, and this pulls in local weather information as well, and you just input that directly within Format, and you place where your site is as well. So I've created a snapshot of my image there, so I'm just going to start placing some lines around my greenfield site. I've just picked a random site of a location that I'm familiar with, and I'm just going to draw a simple flat plane mass, and then I'm just going to extrude that. So I'm just going to extrude that to a certain height. So select how high I want it, and then I'm going to apply some levels to that. Now I'm going to perform some solar analysis. So I'm just going to select my mass that I've created and placed. I've just given it a rough kind of outline shape. I haven't given any great detail to it whatsoever. So I'm just going to select it and perform. First of all, I'll do some shadow analysis just to show you, you can check different times a day. And this is fairly accurate because you've geolocated this using Google Maps, and with Informa Pro is linked to local weather stations and local location information. It's fairly accurate in terms of the sun direction and sun analysis. But then you can also perform solar analysis as well, so you can see what the impact of solar radiation will be on different facades. So I can just hit solar analysis. I can analyze that across a year, and it's going to bring me up a measurement of my kilowatts per hour per square meter on each facade. So this can inform you what percentage of glazing, or if you need any sort of sun shading on any side of your building at a very early stage. And you can see that was modeled in less than 5 minutes. To be able to get that information and show that to a client, you're really adding great value to the design process and the design service that you're offering to your clients already. And you can also you can attach levels to this as well for when you're looking to import it. When you're looking to import it into Revit, this is where that becomes fairly relevant. So you can see here, I've just created the levels. I've just pulled it down to 10 stories. I can set any distance between those as well. And now I'm just going to speed up the video here. I can then import that into Revit. So I save it out from Format as an AXM file. That's fairly straightforward. And then within Revit, I just click Import. So I've already clicked import. It's brought in all of my levels that I created already as well. And it's also brought in the location information. So you don't need to relocate this within Revit whatsoever. It's brought in the same information that you only have to input once, and it gets recreated as well. Just going to turn on my mask there, and you can see that I've created that mask there as well, just brought that in. So now I'm going to convert that into walls and windows. So I've used my curtain wall tool just to convert that into curtain walling, and you'd see you just click create wall by face just by using the tools directly within Revit. So converting that again, within less than 5 minutes into a fairly readable 2D plan and 3D model that has materials applied to it, and that has fairly detailed information attached to it for you to be able to show to a client. Even if you're looking at trying to win a project, you're able to impress them by delivering these things quite efficiently. So I can do the same with the roof as well. I can also apply a roof thickness to it as well. And the same with floors as well. I can select all the separate floors as well that I can apply my floor buildup as well. So within Revit, I've got floor buildup set up in there, and all I'm doing here is just clicking each floor, and I just want to convert all them into floors. And now I'm going to cut a section through the building as well, just to show you how quick we were able to pull together a fairly detailed design, but at a quite early stage all the same. Obviously, this is going to change as your project moves along. Just cut a section through that, and I'm just going to go to my view, and you can see there I've got my 10 floors. You can see all my curtain walling as well. So just to be able to do that, and then you can output your schedule information from this as well. So pull all your floor areas, see what kind of floor areas you're getting from this as well, and to be able to do this at such an early design stage. And again, the location information has been imported as well. So that's looking at a very early design stage. And also, as I mentioned, you can use this on an iPad as well. You can geolocate it on your iPad, and you can actually start modeling on your iPad. You can either use your fingers, or you can use a stylus as well, and you can apply different heights to that. And again, you know, applying materials, you can go into a lot more detail if you want as well, and again perform the solar analysis or the shadow analysis at this very early stage. You know, and you can imagine using this on an airplane, using it on a train or a bus, to be able to put a quick design together, maybe after you've met a client. And sorry, that was Forma Pro. So just looking at something here at a bit more detail using Format Pro. So, perfect. So yeah, just as we touched on Revit already, that is our primary BIM authoring tool. And it allows to pull, you know, 2D and 3D models. And for those of you that mightn't be aware of Revit, I'm just going to show you a bit of a demo of it here. So basically, it allows you to model in 3D, and it also produces your 2D drawings as well. So, you know, that's the base of our tool within the AEC collection, or the base product within the AEC collection. And it just allows us to be able, a starting point to be able to create our BIM model, and to be able to create all of our scheduled information, as you can see on the right-hand side, whether it's floor areas or whether it's quantities or materials as well. You're able to do all of that from within Revit, and then reuse that information, you know, further along in the process as well, whether it's retrieving on site, or whether it's using it for a virtual reality or a 3D presentation as well. And you're also able to export as well. It's not completely separate from a CAD process. You can export any of your 2D drawings into AutoCAD as well, and that's, you know, they're broken down by layer, and they're all snappable .dwg format files as well. So there's no loss of information, and allows you to work with either internally with a CAD process, or externally with another consultant also. So looking at moving your design along, looking at something like, so you've moved your design along and developed it into a bit more detail, and you want to be able to present this to a client. So using something like Revit Live, you're able to access virtual reality workflows. So you're able to either you can view it on a desktop computer. You don't necessarily have to have a VR headset, but if you do, you can plug it into Revit Live, and it's basically just a one click from Revit. So here we have our Revit model, and I'll show you the workflow process now. We've got a number of 3D views set up here as well. So you can see here a number of 3D views already set up in Revit. You don't have to have these set up. These just become handy as location points when you do open it up in Revit Live. So it's, as I said, it is a one-click process from within Revit. I'll just jump through the 3D views. Back to my 3D view. So you should always export from your default 3D view as well, just because it exports everything. Go to your add-ins tab, and you just go to Go Live. And you just see a number of different options there, and just click go. That will just take a number of minutes. So this sends it up to Autodesk's cloud service, and it just processes it into a virtual reality model. So again, this model was produced anyway as a result of your 2D drawings, your 2D drawing process anyway, and you're getting added value here by actually getting a virtual reality model. So you'll receive an email when that's downloaded. Usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes for a model of this size. You then download that, and then it takes another minute or two just to unpack that file, and you're able to open that up within Revit Live as well. So just the first time you open it, just takes an extra minute or two. So just going to open this file, and this just allows you to walk through your model entirely. And And just to note that you can send this model as a .exe file to a client or to a consultant. They don't have to have Revit Live to be able to view this whatsoever. And you can see in the bottom right-hand side, there's an icon that says VR. As soon as you click that, once you have a headset or a VR headset plugged in, it will automatically appear on your VR headset, whether it's Oculus Rift, which I have myself, or if it's a HTC or another type of one as well. And you can see the 3D views that we actually set up within Revit are available on your list on the right-hand side, so that you can jump to them as location points as well. So you might have a particular room in a big building that you want to show to a client, and you can have that set up as a 3D view in there as well. So you can change the time of day, everything. If you have lights installed in it as well, if you've placed lights in Revit, they will show up in your model. You can see if we turn it down to nighttime mode, you can see that the lights turn on automatically. And again, you can click on objects as well. And on your left-hand side, you can see the properties tab. All of those properties tab is information that's pulled in from your Revit parameters. So whether it's cost or specification or you know, any sort of description information or finish information, that's all included. Once you click on the object within Revit Live, you can investigate that information even further. So say you want to publish this, as I said, to an EXE file, and you want to send it to a client, you can just click publish to Windows, and that will export it, as I said, as an EXE file, and then you can file share that to anybody, or just carry it on a USB stick to a meeting or anything like that as well. So quite accessible, and also available on the iPad to be able to view as well. So looking at maybe enhancing your design workflow, your Revit Live workflow, you can also bring your further your developed model. You can use 3D Max, which is also included in the AEC collection. You don't have to bring it into 3D Max. You know, I know not everybody's a 3D Max expert by any means, but within 3D Max, there's a plugin called 3D Max Interactive, and this allows you to really enhance your virtual reality model by adding more realistic materials, more realistic lighting. You can enhance, you know, you can show curtains blowing in the wind, you can show trees and leaves blowing in the wind using 3D Max Interactive. And again, that's the same model that was created once, started in Format, brought through to Revit. You can then view it in Revit Live, and then you can bring that same workflow, that same model into 3D Max Interactive, and then you can reuse that and use it on a host of virtual reality devices as well. So it does take a bit of knowledge to be able to enhance your model in 3D Max Interactive, but I do have to say, you know, there's a couple of quick kind of tools you can use. So one example you might use if you bring your model into 3D Max Interactive, if you do something called baking the lights, and it just gives you a much more enhanced kind of sense of natural lighting and artificial lighting within your model as well. And it's very quick to do also using 3D Max Interactive. And then again, you can view that, you can bring that back into Revit Live as well, and use Revit Live to view it as well. So you can walk through it on your desktop, as I said, export as an EXE, or you can use it on your VR goggles or VR headset as well, if you're using something like that. And this is just an example of an enhanced Revit Live model. So you can see here, once we start moving, you can set up certain options as well. Because 3D Max is originally based on a gaming platform, there's a lot of enhancements in it as well. And I don't know if it comes across on the screen there, but even if you look at the reflections on the windows and how the materials have been enhanced, and the rock and the vegetation there as well have been enhanced, all using 3D Max Interactive and 3D Max workflows as well. So if you're looking for that really high-end finish, even the reflection on the floor and the wood there is far more realistic than you might get as just a straightforward output from Revit Live. So if you're looking for that really high-end finish, again, you might be able to charge a client for this, or you know, just to be able to present in a better light to your clients as well. You can see there moving fire as well. You know, very realistic model to be able to present your design. So that's 3D Max Interactive, just to make you aware of. So moving along your design, you want to do some further maybe design analysis. You've had the design signed off by your client. They said, okay, we like how it looks. Now let's make it work for us. So we have something else called Autodesk Insight. This is available as a plugin for Revit as well, also included in the AEC collection. But there's also a cloud version of it as well that you can access within your browser as well. And this just allows you to be able to analyze your building. Especially for lighting analysis as well, which is very powerful, and I'm going to show you a demonstration of that as well. So again, within Revit, using the Insight 360 toolbar, you're able to perform a lighting analysis, and you can see here that you can create a 2D floor plan, and this shows you the access of natural light within your building here, and you can see there's a right kind of status bar on the right. So yellow, obviously you're getting your most amount of light. The redder areas, it's very dark. This is going to inform you of your building design. Do I need sun shading in the more yellow areas? Do I need to increase my glazing ratio where I see the red areas? And is there any particular reason why an area needs to be darker than another? You might have a server room or something. You don't want too much light getting in there, too much solar heat getting in there as well. But also within Revit, it automatically creates, so in this case, this is being checked against the LEED standards, but you can create your own standards as well. It creates a complete spreadsheet and schedule of any of the daylight penetration here as well. So you can go by level. So on the first line item here, we've got entry level. So the vestibule room or the vestibule defined room, it gives you the number, the floor area, and then it tells you any sort of impact on that as well. So if you move down to the lobby, it tells you the threshold and the percentage of daylight penetration within that as well. So at 9 a.m. and you can move that right through to different times of the day as well. So just looking at doing that further analysis once you've progressed your design along. This just allows you to further analyze your information and even present this again to a client to be able to impress them and show them and say, even if I just jump back to this slide, so this shows you exactly again the daylight penetration, and shows you the foot candles and the lux counting as well. You can change on that where you might need increased artificial lighting or increased glazing for daylighting as well. So being able to look at it from that point of view also. So that's Autodesk Insight. So which you can also perform energy analysis from that as well. And I will caveat that to say early stage energy analysis as well for glazing ratios and how you might improve your building as well. So looking at moving your design along, so I know AutoCAD Civil 3D mightn't be used by most architects, and I certainly know that in my case it definitely wasn't. But again, this does come as part of your AEC collection. Just to make you aware of, not a lot of people are aware of, you might have a civil engineer. If you're in a multidiscipline office, you might have a civil engineer that uses AutoCAD Civil 3D, which also comes in the AEC collection. And there's also workflows from Civil 3D to be able to create road layouts, to be able to create embankments. You might be creating a layout of a housing scheme and you want to place roads around it as well. And there's workflows that you can also integrate Civil 3D with Revit as well, and vice versa, to be able to bring your buildings into Civil 3D. And recently in BIM 360, you can send AutoCAD Civil 3D topography up to BIM 360, and then you can retrieve that in Revit using BIM 360 as well. So if a surveyor has sent you information, you can use Civil 3D to open it, and then you can push that up to BIM 360 as well, and then retrieve it alongside your building design within Revit as well. So being able to create, quite accurate, detailed site models as well, and site drawings as well using that. But also looking at some workflows, so such as InfraWorks is almost like it's similar to Civil 3D, but it's a lot more at conceptual stage. So you can see here we're placing roads and roundabouts. Again, an architect might use this to do early road layouts in a housing estate or a housing scheme, and then you can place your Revit models in this as well. And InfraWorks also brings in ArcGIS information, so we'll bring in topography information. it's not something you'd construct of, but it does. If you've got undulating topography or land in an area, it will bring in that information as well. So if you've got hills or mountains, it will bring in that information. And again, you can import that InfraWorks information into both Civil 3D, but you can also import it into Revit as well. And there's a couple of workflows for that also. So again, if you wanted to use that InfraWorks model within Civil 3D to be able to place roads and a bit more detail within your design as well, you're able to do that too. So then looking at the InfraWorks workflow, maybe from an architectural point of view, this is a video I created just of an example. So I chose my site based in Dublin city centre, using the model builder within InfraWorks. Again, InfraWorks is in the AEC collection. I then stored that model up to the cloud. I just called it what the location of the site was. It's in Dublin city centre, just called it accordingly. And then I chose a file that I wanted to save that into. So this saves your model up to the cloud. Once you hit create model, it's going to then take in that section of that view, or the section of that map as well. So it's brought in the coordinates information, time zone information that you might need for any particular reason, and it prepares that in the background. Now, if I've sped up this video, it might take 7 minutes in the background. So I've sped up this video in the background, and I've skipped through to where it's actually pulled into the information. So it just takes a couple of minutes. So it's just opening up that model now, and it's just going to show you that information that it's pulled in. So within cities, it does have some buildings. It generates a mass of some buildings. So I didn't have to model any of those buildings whatsoever. Now, I'm not going to say they're perfectly accurate, but at a conceptual stage, again, to be able to present this to a client, you can even see it's brought in the river, moving water. All I had to do was pick a map location, and it pulled in everything you see there is completely generated from ArcGIS. And you can see it even has the falls of some of the roads and the land as well. And from my own experience, I know it's relatively accurate that road, for example, in the middle does increase in height as it moves up towards that street. And then you're able to export this model and pull this into Revit as well. So to be able to place that in Revit and to be able to model your building, wherever your site might be located on that as well. And again, you can change the appearance of that as well, the appearance of that model. So I'm just going to show you the workflow and how you might bring that into Revit as well. So it's kind of a workaround using Navisworks. So what you have to do is you have to export your InfraWorks model as an FBX file. You then have to open it within Navisworks, save it as an NWC file, and then you import it into Revit as well. It's fairly quick. It takes a couple of minutes to do that. And once you bring it into Revit, it's then a linked file from your NWC file as well. So move that along. So I'll just minimize that. So I'm just going to move this video along. So you can see here in Navisworks, I've opened up that model in Navisworks. In exactly how I had it within InfraWorks, and then I'm just going to export that, publish it from within Navisworks as well. Once I publish it, I then open up Revit, and then within Revit, I'm able to import that similar way to you bringing in a format model as well. You then bring that in as a coordination model, as it's an NWD file, and you just add that as a linked model as well. And you can bring it in as shared coordinates, and it's brought in the geolocation information as well that you only inputted once within your InfraWorks model, and you can see there is an NWD file that then gets imported into your Revit environment, and you're able to start modeling that as well. So you can imagine even using this with something like the Revit Live workflow as well, to be able to walk down the street and see where your new building might be placed, and you have all this massing information already created. And the massing within ArcGIS is generally done in most cities as well. So it's worth having a look at where projects you have on at the moment, and if that could be of benefit to you as well. So that's a live link. So if you update that model as well, or for whatever reason you're able to relink that as well. So that's looking at something like InfraWorks at, I suppose, an early or design stage, detailed design stage. But say you want to capture more information, you have your Navisworks model brought in. Say you want to catch fairly accurate site information, you can use something like Autodesk Recap. And this allows you to pull in register scanned information and view and edit point clouds as well, and then export that information into Revit also. And you can see here Revit comes up in nearly every workflow. It's almost like the core, or your main BIM authoring tool that you use alongside all of these products. So I'm just going to show you a workflow here within Autodesk Recap as well. So say, for example, you've used some sort of scanner on site to be able to capture a point cloud. You're able to then pull that information into Recap. So it captures all the photogrammetry information as well, attaches that using the registration process in Recap. You can then import that into Revit. So you can see here we're placing levels against our cloud data. And you can then start modeling a building across that as well. So it could be an existing building, you might be doing some sort of refurbishment works to it. You can then start modeling that and see what type of design intervention that you might be making within that building, whether it's a refurbishment or extending or even demolishing part of it as well. You're able to see that, or even if it's just a new internal layout. And you can see there just in that last slide as well. So that's your point cloud within Revit. Sorry there. That's your point cloud within Revit. So you can see the point cloud. It's kind of a bit fuzzy in the background, but you get the idea that it's the internal of the existing building. And we can see here they've obviously gone design some sort of modern intervention. So they've placed furniture within Revit, placed your mezzanine level and your stairs, fairly detailed. And you can imagine bringing this into your Revit Live workflow at your early design stage, or even at a pre-construction stage, to be able to show it to a contractor what the intervention might look like as well, with the accurate point cloud data also. You can also use Recap to track as-built information during a construction process. It's not only for this particular stage. You can track construction progress as well, to be able to overlay it against a design model with the as-built point cloud as well, to see where progress is on a particular project. So looking at moving along from your detailed design stage, looking at almost your pre-construction stage as well, or even at your construction stage, to be able to take your Revit model and to be able to push that into something like Navisworks Manage, and to be able to perform clash detection, interference checking, and to be able to federate your models together. So Navisworks is primarily used for clash detection in my experience, and this is where you take a structural engineer's model and, for example, an architect's model, or you might take a mechanical engineer's model, and you do what's called a clash test. So you run them all together and you say, okay, what part of these models are clashing together? And it's telling you clashes that happen before they happen on site, before the team of contractors on site come across issues. You're virtually creating them, and therefore you're eliminating them where it's expensive to rework them, or to solve them at a construction stage. So here we have Navisworks. It's quite a basic 3D viewer, and you can see on your left-hand side here, we've got our selection tree. So M is for mechanical model, S structural model, and A for architectural model. So these are taken directly in from Revit. You just open them up within Navisworks, and these are 3 separate models, possibly from 3 separate consultants, and you then select 1 or 3 models that you run a clash against. So clash detective in your top home bar. Just select your 2 models that you want to run the clash against, and you can set the tolerance, whether it's 25 mil or whether it's 0 millimeters. So this is a mechanical model. Level 1, we're going to clash against a structural model, level 1, run the test. And you can see here on the left-hand side, it's brought up 6 clashes. And on the right-hand side, it brings you up a viewing point where every single clash occurs within here as well. So here we have some pipes, and it's hitting a structural brace, and we're able to resolve that. Does that need to be resolved on site, or can we address it in the design model before it gets to site as well? So very powerful features there within Navisworks Manage, and again taken directly from your Revit model as well. So you don't have to recreate any sort of model, and then you can then assign those to people as well, and review them for whatever reason. You can also do walkthroughs of your construction model as well. So here we have the structural model just on its own. We can do a walkthrough as well, just to see how it's looking, just to see if we foresee any issues. You can even use it to do a safety walkthrough as well. You'll know you need scaffolding around certain edges of floors as well at certain stages. And then you can also create what we call a 4D timeliner as well. So here we have a 4D timeliner. Basically, when this pulls in your Revit model, everything is broken down into different objects. You can assign, within the timeliner feature within Navisworks, you can assign your complete construction schedule across that timeline and say, okay, the concrete floor pour at ground level is going to happen on this day or across these 2 or 3 days. And you can then create a video of all of that happening in real time. You can see here it being constructed. You can see when it's green, it means it's in progress being constructed. When it's finished, it goes to its finished color. And you can see the building being created as the timeline moves along. And in the top left, you can see every day, time, minute, hour, exact number of week that this is and when it's happening. And this allows you to see how the building is going to be constructed before you've even broken ground on site as well. So again, being able to do this with a client, particularly from an architectural point of view, in my experience, I've seen that architects are generally the BIM coordinators on project. They're generally assigned these roles, and that's you're usually charging the client an additional fee for that BIM coordination role. And Navisworks will become one of the primary tools for that. So being able to do something like clash detection or 4D timelining, you're adding a lot more value to that service that you're providing. So looking at that as the fairly detailed construction stage, what about automating some of those tasks? So I'm going to touch on something here called Dynamo Studio. And I've only a couple of slides left. I'll try to get through them in a few minutes to leave time for questions at the end. But again, taking your Revit model and using something like Dynamo Studio. So Dynamo Studio is visual programming without programming required. So it does allow you to create these kind of funky shapes, different design styles, but there are quite practical applications of this as well. And I've also used this myself as well. And I do a lot of consultancy around the Dynamo side of things. So you're able to, for example, take a building design within Revit, within Revit, and you're able to apply different parameters to this. So you might be able to apply for example, the boundary of the site. You want to apply what the local planning setback needs to be from adjacent or neighboring buildings. You can apply all of these parameters within Dynamo, and then you can push that information. It's directly linked to Revit. So when you make a change in Dynamo and you hit run, those changes will update your model within Revit immediately as well. So you can see it has a preview screen within Dynamo there. And if we change certain information within Revit as well, that also pushes it back into Dynamo. So creating quite efficient workflows as well. So you're able to then iterate your design based on those different parameters, whether it's a setback. You can see at the bottom floor here, they've created a setback, over a certain story. So just looking at some of the automations that you're able to create within those as well. And as I mentioned, there are fairly practical examples of this as well. So looking at creating clash detection within Revit itself, not going into Navisworks. So what this has done, it's taking your design coordination information from Navisworks, and it's going to place an object wherever it finds a clash within Revit as well. So this is our clash detection that we might have run previously in Navisworks. So we're going to take all of those clashes and we're going to push them into Revit, and we're going to use Dynamo to place an identifier object of those clashes within Revit as well. So saving you having to leave your design environment within Revit and to be able to resolve them directly within Revit itself as well. So looking at that round trip process from Revit to Dynamo, from Revit to Navisworks to Revit again using Dynamo. And you can see here, it's labeled them. It's placed an object, a red arrow, and it's labeled it the clash number that it's pulled in from Dynamo as well, pulled in from Navisworks using Dynamo. And you can also create a schedule then of any of your clashes at the end here as well. And you can perform this, you can imagine performing this across a whole building design, and you mightn't be able to see certain parts of building designs as well. And then it allows you to create your cut opes as well. And then placing those cut opes, again, using Revit, you can schedule out those cutting opes as well. So might even for your fire consultant or your fireproofing, you know at those cut opes you need to put certain fire stopping installations as well. And again, doing the round trip by going back into Navisworks as well, and checking if those clashes have been cleared also. So that's looking at using some Dynamo. And I'm just to finish off, I'm just going to touch on BIM 360 now. I know our next webinar in 2 weeks' time will cover BIM 360 in a lot more detail, but I just wanted to show you, I suppose, the whole ecosystem of the Autodesk solution, looking at what you can do with all those design workflows that we've looked at today, how you can push that into some sort of cloud platform and to be able to retrieve that on site. So again, a quick video here I've created just showing you within Revit how you might push your design information from Revit into BIM 360 directly from within Revit. So creating a live link to BIM 360 using something like your collaboration options within Autodesk Revit as well. So you just select, what I'm doing here is I'm selecting a folder within my BIM 360 environment. I'm selecting where I want to store that model. This is then going to allow me to retrieve that model either on site to be able to view the drawings attached to it, to be able to review any sort of design issue information attached to that 3D model. And you can just imagine the efficiency of this. So straight from a design environment in Revit and being pushed through up to the cloud. You might even have a guy on site that's waiting to pull this down off the cloud 5 minutes later. You're able to do that. If your architect or somebody goes to site for an inspection, you've created that design model and then push that up to the cloud, and they can then retrieve that using an iPad or a mobile device on site as well, to be able to view, okay, what is this actually supposed to look like, and what are you know, is the construction layout, is that matching what the design intent was as well. So that's looking at BIM 360 at a more basic level. But when you get into something like BIM 360 design, you can look at something like how you can enhance your complete collaboration workflows by using something like BIM 360 Design. I'm just going to show you a quick workflow of that as well. So here we have our BIM 360 Design environment. And you can see here the 3D model, it's being pushed up to the cloud, and using something like BIM 360, you know, this could be a consultant looking at your design model. It could be the architect looking at the structure model, or vice versa. And he's able to then review that. And you can see in the top of the screen, you've got various options to view your model. And we've got what is called our swim lane option. So I'm going to jump into that. And just to identify, that I think one of the best features with BIM 360 is the change compare. So if something has changed in the model, it will automatically highlight it in a different color. So this means you're not emailing or phoning another consultant to say, this wall has moved, this wall has changed. As soon as they view that in the change mode, they're able to see, okay, this yellow wall has been modified, and therefore that's identified to them. And you can just imagine the efficiencies that this drives within a design process as well. It also works on 2D drawings, 2D PDFs as well, and again within 3D views as well. So that's looking at BIM 360. And then just to recap, I've covered the AEC collection, I hope in fairly good detail there, definitely from an architectural point of view, and touching on some kind of structural workflows as well. But we've also covered touched on BIM 360 also. So just to then recap on the AEC collection, you can see there, you know, there's a lot of products that I didn't even get to go into today, but you still have access to them as long as you have an AEC collection. So you've got vehicle tracking, you've got AutoCAD, electrical as well, and a range of other information there as well, and also robot structural analysis as well, if you've got a structural engineer within your team also. Okay, so I'll leave it there now, and I'll leave a few minutes for a Q&A at the end, and I'll hand it back over to you, Paul. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Absolutely excellent overview of the capability available to our customers using the Autodesk AEC collection. So as you say, really now we've got a couple of minutes literally left for any questions which you can input through the control panel on your screen. At the moment, I'm not seeing any questions so far to do with the collection and the Autodesk overall solution set there. Are you seeing any there, Jonathan?
I'm not. No, nothing through yet.
No, so nothing's come through my end. So we'll give it a moment.
Yeah.
As you say, I think the next one you'll get details from us will be a further sort of a deeper dive into the Autodesk BIM 360 cloud platform. So if you are looking at the use of cloud technology, that would be a good webinar to come along to. And I'm sure you'll receive an invite in due course from us, and we'll publish the details up on the CAD Point website, so you can get to us and find out more about the cloud solutions from Autodesk.
Exactly.
So still not seeing any questions there, Jonathan, at this point in time.
And just to add that the new Revit is due out. Updated Revit is due out. I know in soon enough, so I'd keep an eye out for any sort of new feature updates coming in that as well for anybody that's interested. Hopefully in the next week or so we'll see something from that, and also BIM 360, from what I hear, has some fairly new updates as well and features as well, so to keep an eye out for those.
Good. Okay, well, in the absence of any further questions, Jonathan, I think we'll wrap it up. So thank you very much for your input today. It's much appreciated. I'm sure all the audience participants found it to be of great value. This whole event has been recorded, so it will be available should you require to view it internally or send it through to any colleagues. So that'll be up on our website in due course. So apart from that, thank you very much for your time. And hold on, we have my message come through. Yeah, no, just some thanks very much from various people. Thank you too. So we'll call it to an end now, and look forward to working with you in due course. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you all. See you now.